guys, Aaron Chandler here for Forever Football DRFC, your Doncaster Rovers fan channel. It's your daily reports today, bringing you the latest news and reports from Doncaster Rovers Football Club. And we've got a big one tonight. Big late breaking news update tonight. Gavin Baldwin, the chief executive of the club, has released his official club statement on behalf of the whole club, representing the board, etc. Now I'm going to read the entire statement and share my thoughts on everything. So before we get started, guys, please like, comment, subscribe, cut the notification bell so you never miss a YouTube video. What I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to put up an image of the words of the statement while I read it off. So you guys get a clearer idea of what's being said. If you don't understand my accent, if you're worldwide viewers. And for now, guys, let's have a look at Baldwin's official statement for this month on behalf of the football club. And it officially states as follows. Before I begin these notes, I would like to send my best wishes and the best wishes of everyone at Club Doncaster to Darren Moore after it was announced that he had suffered a setback in his recovery from COVID-19. We are all hoping for a speedy and full recovery, and I second that notion. I send my best wishes to Darren Moore. Thoughts to go out to his family and his friends, and I hope he gets well soon. So he continues to say, as we come to the end point of the season, I and everyone associated with the club share the disappointment of fans with the way the season has unfolded. Simply put, since the beginning of February, results haven't been good enough. Now, that part, let's analyse that firstly. That part, very honest, very open, very sincere, and you know what? He the club and he admits that the results haven't been good enough, and he admits that. So, moving on, he says, the bad run of form obviously started under Darren, with a series of results that saw us take just 1 point from a possible 15. With Andy Butler in charge, the team rallied and took 7 points from the next 4 games, but since then we've struggled to retain that form. Given the speed of Darren's departure, which happened in a little over 72 hours from official approach to confirming a wish to leave the club, the decision to appoint Andy was a logical and sound move. Andy has been shadowing Darren since he returned to the club and has already stepped in once this season. Of course, we knew that when Darren and his team were suffering from COVID, Butler managed for a game, and we knew that. The decision was also supported by the senior professionals at the club. Indeed, the results immediately after Andy took charge shows the dressing room had responded well to the change. Unfortunately, since the momentum had not continued, it's difficult to put a specific reason on why. Injuries have without doubt played a part, agreed. The loss of John Taylor and Josh Sims impacts upon our attacking potential, but defensively we've also looked a shadow of the team we were at the start of the season. I agree with that, he said the right thing so far. It would be entirely appropriate for fans to ask why the board didn't go straight to a recruitment process when Darren left, and for there to be an assumption that we've gone for the cheap or easy option. I can assure all fans that finances were not part of the decision-making process. The board had supported Darren significantly at the January transfer window by providing the resources for both quality and quantity to be added to the team to support the run-in. The board also wants to create a stable environment until the end of the season so as not to distract the players. That's a logical reason. It's not an excuse, it's a logical reason. The board didn't want to distract the players, they wanted to create a stable atmosphere, so they went with continuity in the managerial role. I get that, I agree with that. He then goes on to say the other criticism could be why give it to an inexperienced manager. Again, it was felt that consistency between now and the end of the season was the best approach. Football has had a history of inexperienced managers being successful, with players stepping into management and having immediate success in their first seasons, including winning league titles and saving teams from relegation. And bearing in mind, don't forget we've had players turn into managers. One big example is Dave Penny, so obviously it's different managers and different people, but we've had players to manage success before, and I think with his own squad, he could get some success out of it. So that's why Butler could probably approach the job long term after this season. But, Dave Penny's a prime example of a player to manager and it being successful, so I get the reference with the club history there. He then goes on to say, experience isn't always the most important factor in how successful a manager will be. It was also a decision supported by the senior players of whom we consulted prior to any appointment being confirmed.
So there we go. He then goes on to say, whilst we'll never give up until it's mathematically impossible, it appears that this season has fallen away from us. We share the disappointment of supporters given the position we held at the beginning of the year. I agree with that. If this season is to end in disappointment, then we are keen to ensure it doesn't overspill into next year's campaign. You will have seen that we've now started the recruitment process for the next manager. We aim to have that in place as soon as the season completes. So, of course, we knew that from the earlier news story from around nearly a week ago. Our interview process has proven to work well before, and we'll repeat it once again. We are, however, keen to ensure we can avoid the short-term stay that have seen our previous two managers depart within less than 2 years of being appointed. We aim to address this as part of the recruitment process. That I love. And of course, fans are going to be like, well, they're not true. They're not going to stick to their word. Trust me, I've got faith. I've got faith in the board. So, I'd be interested to see who we go for. Does that hint towards Andy Butler being a long-term appointment, a loyal long-term appointment? We don't know. Does it hint to someone else being a long-term appointment? You've seen the bookies. And I'm actually going to go through the bookies in this video, so stay tuned for that. He then goes on to say we'll also use the next few weeks of the season to understand how we may support the entirety of the backroom team, including talent identification, coaching and performance management. Meanwhile, some of our younger players will also be given more opportunities. That I'm a massive fan of. Massive fan of that. Younger players getting more opportunities. The youth academy. The younger players like your Lakilos, your Johns, giving it more of a chance to develop and shine. But also the youth academy like your Greaves, Horton, Jones. You know, the next level coming up. Bojan, Cunningham. All these players from the youth academy are going to get their chance to shine, which is amazing to hear. We are really encouraged to see the academy products in our first team, and this is something we aim to develop without compromising on our philosophy or ambition to be constantly challenging for the top 6. That is the club's ambition. Constantly challenge for the top 6. And that's an amazing ambition. If I had to give one critical piece of advice to the board on that statement, it would be raise those ambitions a little bit more. If you're going to say constantly challenge for top 6, that's amazing. For a club the size of Donny, that is wonderful. My best advice would be raise those ambitions to maybe top 5 maybe. Go one step further to top 5. But top 6 I can agree with. Then he goes on to say, following this COVID-19 year, we also intend to go back on our original criteria, a squad of 22, which is supported by 3 to 5 development players and boosted by a limited number of high-quality loan players. That bit's interesting. Limited number of high-quality loan players. We're still looking to loan players, but it will be a limited number this time. So, obviously in the past we've loaned 7 or 8. We don't know what the limit is, but a limited number of loans, high-quality loan players, is definitely an interesting statement. Is it only going to be 2 or 3? I'd be very interested to find out, along with the 3 to 5 youth academy players. A 22-man squad, very interesting indeed. Of course, there's 8 or 9 that are remaining. There is, 10 out of contract. There's around a dozen out of contract, so that'll take it to around 21-ish. So it should be interesting. Unless some of those out of contract players go, then we'll fill their spot with new signings. As we begin the recruitment process, I know some of you will be concerned about the future of Andy Butler. Please rest assured that we've taken these steps in the full knowledge that in consultation with Andy has been an incredible servant to the club, and there will be a place available for him next season, whether that is as manager, coach, or back in the playing staff. That is interesting. So it looks like he's applying for the job anyway. Could be a coach under the new manager if he's not the manager, but he could also be a player. So that's very exciting to see that Andy Butler's going to be part of hopefully at least the playing squad next season, if not in the top job, or if not in the middle somewhere as a coach for the new manager. Away from first team matters, he goes on to say, I know many of you want to know about the season tickets for next season. At present, we've created several options for supporters who purchased last year, and our aim is to delight. We'll continue to see how the easing of lockdown goes and understand any capacity restrictions Stadia are placed under before releasing the information. We'd not wish to start selling tickets and taking fans' money unless we have some assurance as to how next season will look. And I like that sort of cautiousness about it. I like the cautiousness here. Finally, as the season comes to a close, I want to join all fans in thanking James Coppinger and celebrating his time at the club. We are working with James and a group of supporters to decide how we can pay tribute to his years of service and how we can say goodbye to the fans. So that hints to me that he's not going to stay on next season. This year is going to be his last year, and it's going to be the retirement season for him, which is very, very interesting indeed. So there we go, guys. That is the official book. Well, not the official bookies. That's coming. The bookies are coming. But yeah, that's it. That is the statement. I'm just getting the Sky Bet bookies on now. But yeah, that's the statement from the club, from Gavin Baldwin, the CEO. Do I agree with everything in that statement? If it comes true, yes. I've got no doubts why it shouldn't not come true. I've got personally, I've got no doubts. I'm sure other people might have the doubts because of, they might think about past years, but I've personally got no doubts. We'll see what happens. If they're offering this, then we'll see what happens next season. Andy being involved in at least the playing staff. There's a role for him available anywhere in the club, which is amazing. James Coppinger's send-off, that's going to be emotional for me, and I know for a lot of fans as well. And, a lot of stuff about the squad going into next season. The 22-man squad, the 3 to 5 development players, the loanees, the limited number of loanees, should we say. So it's very, very exciting indeed, and we'll see what happens with that. Now let's go into the bookies. Now, obviously, not all the bookies are going to be completely open and honest, but of course we have to look at all the options. We haven't looked at the bookies yet, but very interesting indeed. But let's have a look then. So the favourite at 10 to 11. In fact, you know what? I'm looking through the options now. I'm just confirming how many they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the first 13 on your screen somewhere, and then I'm going to put the second 13. So the top 13 are Paul Heckingbottom, the favourite at 10 to 11. That is amazing odds for Paul Heckingbottom. Of course, currently in temporary charge at Sheffield United. Richie Wellens is at 7 to 2. That is the second option. He's the former Salford and Oldham manager, of course, former player at Rovers. Next up is the Aston Villa youth coach, George Boateng, or Boateng, at 7 to 1. Then next up at 10 to 1, it's Mickey Mellon, the Dundee United manager. We've talked a bit about him in past reports. Then next up, 12 to 1, Phil Parkinson from Sunderland. The old Sunderland and Bolton manager, Phil Parkinson. Just put it this way, he's not my first choice. Let's leave it at that. Next up, 16 to 1, James Coppinger. That's interesting. Then, 20 to 1, A.D. Boothroyd, who has just been removed as England under-21 manager. Really? I really don't want A.D. Boothroyd to be manager. I really don't. This is just odds right now. There's no names confirmed at this stage. This is just early odds, shall we say. The odds will change in future reports. Don't worry about that. We will do, I think we'll probably do like a daily odds check. Not during previews and reviews, but we'll do it under... like different daily reports. If we do any daily reports, we'll do odds checks in each one. Just to see, but yeah. So after Heckingbottom, Wellens, Boateng, Mellon, Parkinson, Coppinger and Boothroyd, number 8 is Keith Curle at 20 to 1. These next ones are at 20 to 1 until otherwise. But Keith Curle, the former Northampton manager, interesting. Nicky Butt is next at number 9. That's interesting. He's, of course, left Man United. He was rumoured to be number 2 at Celtic if Roy Keane was manager, but very interesting rumours coming off of there. Number 10 on the list is Uwe Rosler at 20 to 1. Then next up at 25 to 1, it's Andy Butler. Of course, we kind of knew that name was going to pop up somewhere. We kind of had an idea that the name was going to pop up somewhere. Then next up, Daniel Stendhal at 25 to 1. And then finally, Derek McInnes, of course, the former Barnsley manager. And then following that is Derek McInnes, which is the former Aberdeen manager at 25 to 1. Now let's have a look at the bottom 13. Of course, Paul Tisdale starts off the list at 25 to 1. Bristol Rovers fans, you're probably going to be happy with that. Then next up at 33 to 1, it's Bernard Morley and Anthony Johnson. Now, you guys might not know who that is, but they are the joint managers of Chester Football Club in the Vanarama National League south, I believe, not north, south. But yeah, they are managers of Chester Football Club, and they've been doing a good job since they've been down there. But I think non-league, it's very far down compared to Football League, so there's going to be obviously a divide with that. Curtis Woodhouse. Now, I chatted to, if you see my Twitter, I chatted to Curtis Woodhouse. 33-1. Massive guy. Shout out to Curtis. I'm sure he might watch this at some point, but yeah, shout out to Curtis, man. 33-1 odds. Could he be manager? Who knows? Then next up, Neil Harris has gone down the odds, the former Millwall and Cardiff manager. But after that, it's Neil Lennon. And then that's the former Celtic manager. And then after that, it's Roy Keane, the former Sunderland manager. And yeah, that's an interesting one. Then ending the 33-1s is Sean O'Driscoll returning. How would people feel about that? How would people feel if Sean O'Driscoll returned to the club? Now, the final 6 are 40-1, so that's like all but confirmed to be not happening. These are the 6 names at 40-1 at the minute, and bearing in mind this is early on in the odds, so these will change. Frank Lampard, Gary Monk, Ian Holloway, John Terry, Mike Newell and Phil Brown. Now, Frank Lampard, former Chelsea manager. Gary Monk, former Swansea manager and Leeds manager. Ian Holloway, former Blackpool and Grimsby manager and Crystal Palace manager. John Terry, former current Aston Villa coach, I believe still. Mike Newell, of course, the former Luton Town manager from back in the 03 days under that terrible ownership by John Gurdy, I think his name is. And then finally Phil Brown, who's just become Southend United manager. So I think by that point they're running out of names at the minute. But but yeah, that's the odds. I mean, obviously, Heckingbottom's up there, Wellings is up there, Mellon's up there, George Boateng's up there. That'd be a lovely purchase. There's one manager, though, that I would like at the club that wasn't on those odds, and that's James Rowe from Chesterfield. I think James Rowe from Chesterfield plays a 3-5-2, very attacking football, very fluent, attractive football. He's done well with Chesterfield. He's worked his way up. He's a winner. Everywhere he goes, he's a winning manager. He could be the next Danny Cowley, where he goes from non-league to Football League and can make the step up and challenge himself with the step up. And it's a long-term project as well. If you look at the managers we had under John Ryan, you look at the likes of like Ian Snowden and obviously Dave Penny was up there, and Sean O'Driscoll came from Bournemouth, who was in like the League 1 and 2, came into this league, took us up to the Championship. So we don't always go. Obviously Darren Moore's the biggest manager we've had in the modern era, obviously, in terms of his previous experience with like West Brom in the Premier League, and obviously West Brom is a Championship club as well, and being a former player. So Darren Moore, technically, in terms of experience with the club and with big jobs up the levels in the Premier League, etc., he's been our biggest manager to date. Now, in terms of experience, now what we've done under John Ryan, obviously it's not the same ownership, but what we've done under John Ryan is we had managers from lower down come up and work their way up. Dave Penny, player to manager. Sean O'Driscoll from Bournemouth, around League 1 and 2. And, this is the Bournemouth before they sort of recovered themselves and got up to the Premier League, a few years later. So, this is Sean O'Driscoll in the League 2, League 1 Bournemouth. And he brought James Hayter, brought O'Connor, and everything went up from there. And, we've always, not always, but we've got the best managers we've had at Donny Rovers under that John Ryan sort of stewardship, like Dave Penny and Sean O'Driscoll. They were player to manager, or they were lower down. I would like to see someone come in with a youthful brain and someone come in and play the attractive football, but someone lower down. And I think someone like a James Rowe at Chesterfield, or the Morley and Johnson partnership from Chester, that would be really cool. Obviously Heckingbottom would be an experienced choice, as would Stendhal. Wellings is a former player, so that'd be going down the same route as Darren Moore in a way. There's some ridiculous ones out there that will never ever happen. Lampard will never happen. Gary Monk will never happen. Ian Holloway probably won't ever happen. John Terry will definitely not happen. I'd be very surprised if we get Lampard or John Terry. But, obviously it's names at the minute. It's very early on in the odds. So once the applications close on Monday, I believe it is, Once the application's closed, then we'll get more of an idea in the next week or two after that, after the application's closed, as to more realistic odd looks. So unless there's no other names going for it, then we'll start to see the Lampards and Terrys still. But we'll start to see more realistic names up and down the odds betting. We'll start to see more odds coming in as the next week or so unfolds. But those are just like the starting odds. Obviously, this is something we can look back to and think, oh, remember when he was in the odds for our job, even though it was very unlikely. But yeah, some interesting names there. Lampard, definitely one of them. Terry's an interesting name. Sean O'Driscoll. Now, I did speak to Ian Dance from TalkSport, and I said, Sean O'Driscoll, would that be a good one? He said, and to be fair, Ian Danter did say, you know, does he have it anymore? Does he have that magic anymore? I'd like to see Sean O'Driscoll come back, maybe. I mean, comment down below if you want to see Sean O'Driscoll come back. But it should be interesting. But thank you very much, guys, for watching this video, this Daily Reports. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And for now, guys, my name is Aaron Chandler from Forever Football, DRFC. Stay tuned, because at 10 to 11 in the morning tomorrow, we have the lineup reaction stream for the Shrewsbury match. And then kick-off at 12:30. The match review will be up within the hour after the match finishes, right before Prince Philip's funeral at 3 p.m. So make sure you go stay tuned in. There's going to be a minute silence, I believe, around the world at 3 p.m. To mark the occasion, and I hope you guys have the respect that I have and all the people of the world have to stand for a minute for a minute silence and stand and remember His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. Rest in peace. And of course, my thoughts, as ever, go out to Her Majesty the Queen and the royal family for their loss. Big day for the royal family tomorrow, and I send them all my love. But thank you very much, guys. My name is Aaron Chandler from Forever Football, DRFC, and that, my friends, is full time. Rovers till I die. Let's get the win tomorrow.